What's going on, everyone? Anthony Cofrancesco here from Data Dive, and this is Office Hours today. We're going to be giving a breakdown of the Data Dive certification program. That is something we've been working on for quite some time. I'm going to explain a little bit of it today. I'm going to explain some new workflows and what we're going to be going through in the next 4 weeks inside of Office Hours. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. I think everyone should be able to see that. And yeah, let's jump into it. I have like a bunch of people sitting in the waiting room. Okay, that's fine. Now they're starting to join. Some people are stuck. I have no idea why. Okay, cool. Let's jump into this. So for anyone who is watching this recap on YouTube, feel free to use the section markers down at the bottom. It's going to help you navigate through quicker. You can feel free to skip the intro. If you're not already using Data Dive, you can feel free to book a demo with the team. They not only understand how to use Data Dive, but like what do all the buttons do? They also understand larger Amazon strategies. So when you join these calls, you're going to get some insights on your brands that are going to be useful. You can go to datadive.tools or you can scan the QR code to join. Now, after this, there's going to be a couple different ways to ask questions. There's also going to be a section in the end where I'm kind of sharing a couple of the questions that are on the certification test. So we're going to be asking that you use the chat for that. And then if you have a more complicated question, you want us to dig into something related to Data Dive, you can feel free to raise your hand and we'll take all those at the end. So for anyone who wants to become an expert in Data Dive, there's three different tools that you can use, three different ways that you can learn. So we have our knowledge base powered by our AI chatbot. We have our YouTube channel, and we do office hours 3 times every single week. We've been doing this for more than a year now. So if you have questions, you can navigate to the knowledge base inside of the app. You just click on this little question mark icon in the bottom right-hand side, and you can go straight to the knowledge base, or you can type your question in the chat and it'll pull it up. If you type a question in the chat, the AI assistant is going to look through our breakdown of the articles that we have inside of the knowledge base, and it's either going to give you that answer or it's going to route you to the correct article inside of the knowledge base. It's not always perfect, but we're working on training the AI to, we have, everything is in there, 100% everything is in there. But sometimes if you ask it a really weird question, like someone the other day was asking about, they wanted to start a dive, but they're like, how do you generate an MKL? And so we're going back through the knowledge base. We're like adding some tags in the words. We're working with the AI chatbot. So like even if you type in something really abstract, it's going to know what you're talking about, and it's going to get you to the right question. But generally, it works pretty well. All of our prior office hours sessions are on the YouTube channel. You can find it in the Office Hours V2 playlist. We've got a couple of new ones that we just posted up last week. You can see all of our past office hours in that group. Now, I'm going to be focusing on two different things today. Well, yeah, really two different things today. I'm going to talk a little bit about workflows and why they're important. We've been working on these for a long time, and I haven't been super public about sharing them except for in office hours. And the reason why is I wanted to wait until everything was created, until these SOPs were ready to hand off. And then like once we have the whole system in, then share them with everyone. So what these workflows are based off of is really like, can you go into a brand and quickly diagnose what problems are, come up with a strategy to fix those problems, and then execute on that strategy and see if you can improve the performance of the brand. And so if you've joined office hours before, you've probably seen this, but this is how Amazon's ranking algorithm works. It's really simple when you break it down like this, that your organic rank, where you show up inside of search results, is a factor of the equation that's below. And what it comes down to is you have your relevancy, which is your SEO, what keywords Amazon thinks are relevant and related to your product. And so you have your relevancy and you're multiplying that times performance. And your performance is made up of three things: your click-through rate, your conversion rate, and your revenue or your sales velocity. And so we can quickly diagnose any issue, any problem with an Amazon brand just based off of one of these four metrics. Number one, am I indexed? Am I telling Amazon that these are the keywords that are relevant to me? We do a lot of that with listing optimization. And then once you have the listing written, that's the easiest part of anything in Data Dive to do is writing your listing. The tool will do most of this for you. It really comes down to, okay, we've got the relevancy checkbox. We've got that box checked off. Okay, now we got to look at performance. How is your click-through rate, your conversion rate, and your revenue or your sales velocity comparing to the competitors? If you are performing above what the competitors are doing, your organic ranks are going to go up. If you're underperforming relative to the competitors, your organic ranks are going to go down. And so the reason that I'm explaining this is because we came up with a workflow that addresses each part of this algorithm and really each part in the selling process. So if you've been in office hours before, especially if you've seen the sessions on Speed Round where we validate 3 products in 30 minutes, we launch 3 products in 30 minutes, we optimize 3 products in 30 minutes. You've seen us go through these workflows. The workflows are really the intended way to use Data Dive. We put millions of dollars into developing this tool, and there's a lot of thought between like how different areas of the tool flow together. And so if you start practicing these workflows more and more, you're not only going to be using Data Dive in a more effective way, but you're going to get quicker every single time that you do this, every single time that you build the repetition. And so you've already all seen the validation workflow. Again, if you haven't seen the speed round validate, go and check it out. It's everything that you need to know about how to determine the risk level of a niche, how to fill out the product scorecard, how to fill out profits, and then see if a product passes your validation criteria. We also have a really good office hours speed round on launch where we go through the launch process of launching 3 products in 30 minutes. So this involves the listing builder, writing the listing using the AI, modifying the AI's work, analyzing the AI product brief, analyzing deep dive, making a creative brief, and then creating your initial PPC campaigns for launch. Again, first time that you do this, it's going to be clunky. But once you do this 5+ times, it's going to be really fast. It's going to be really easy. I was on a webinar the other day with one of my friends, Sumner Hobart. He was like, man, this whole tool just flows together so well. I think 80% of our users are like using the bits and pieces of the tools kind of separately. And if you start using these workflows, your effectiveness is going to go up a lot. So everyone's seen validate, everyone's seen launch. At least we've made it very public. What you haven't seen are the optimize part of the strategy. And this is actually broken down into 4 parts, each of them related to that equation that I was showing you earlier. So part 1 is all about optimizing SEO. That's your relevancy, making sure you're indexed for the correct keywords. If you're not indexed for those keywords, how to fix it, how to improve your organic rank for keywords. Then part 2 is all about optimizing for click-through rate. This is going to be a large factor of main image. We're going to talk about part 3 is optimize conversion rate. And then part 4 is optimize PPC. So these are full-blown PDF guides that have step-by-step instructions on how to execute these workflows. There's video links inside of these PDFs that explain in greater detail, more than the PDF guide will, each of these sections, SEO, CTR, CVR, and your PPC or your revenue. And this is what we're going to be covering in office hours for the next 4 weeks. I'm going to try to add in a real world case study that's related to each of these parts. We already have one that's related to SEO for next week, but the primary focus is going to be learning. And how this all relates to the more and more people joining. This is awesome. How this relates to the certification is really broken down on, it covers these 6 parts. So validation, launch, optimize, all 4 parts. SEO, CTR, CVR, and revenue. So we're not going to cover this today. Next week is all going to be about optimization part 1, SEO. I want to spend some time talking about the Data Dive certification. This is already available, right? And this process for optimizing SEO is pretty straightforward. This is one of I feel like I'm a superstar, not a superstar. I feel like I'm a superhero when I'm at events, when I get onto calls, when our sales team is getting on calls with people. And within literally 5 minutes of starting the dive, we can already start to see optimizations for SEO for the vast majority of brands. even sellers that have a perfectly optimized listing, if they haven't used data dive before, there's almost always at least one keyword that we can find that they're not indexed well for that is a relevant keyword. And the answer is using the listing builder to rewrite that into your listing. So we have some videos on the YouTube channel that cover this, actually many videos on the YouTube channel that cover this. Once you do this 5+ times, and again, this is why you want to learn these workflows, is because you're going to get faster and faster and faster. This process is how you analyze your MKL. You're checking to see what keywords Amazon thinks you're relevant for. Then, if there's any areas where your organic rank is low or you're not indexed, you're going to inspect and you're going to try to find what we call gaps in the master keyword list. Once you find those gaps in your MKL, you're going to go over to your listing builder and see, do those gaps also exist in the listing? You're going to rewrite the listing. You're going to set up rank tracking and make highlights as you make changes in the listing. And then you're going to optimize over time. You're going to iterate and change your listing up to once a week. So you can actually get this PDF guide. It's live. We have a whole landing page with all of these PDFs. The ones that are not available yet will say coming soon, but over the next week, I think they're all going to be ready by Thursday when we upload this recap. Now, we have a whole flow on optimization for click-through rate. I'm not going to cover that today. We have one for conversion rate, we have revenue, and then we have a bigger workflow that looks at enterprise. And enterprise is like, how do you manage a team of people that are doing this underneath me? If you're an agency and you're managing multiple clients, if you're a brand and you have many products in your portfolio, then this is the enterprise workflow. So that is a quick introduction of what's coming down the pipeline for the next few weeks. Let's take a few minutes and we're going to talk about this data dive certification program. And so the whole thought with this data dive certification program, number one, comes from the fact that data dive is hella complicated, right? It's just like there's a lot going on, especially when you're new to the tool. But the real reason that we wanted to put something like this together is because the single biggest question that we get asked when we're on calls, when we're at conferences, when we're at events, is like, this software is great. Who can I pay that can go and do this for me? And because the software is a little bit complex, we want to be sure that anyone that we're recommending, that we're referring out, actually has not just an understanding of what all the buttons do inside of the tool, but what strategy should be used. Can they think bigger picture on like, what is the end goal that we're trying to achieve here? There's a lot of freelancers, there's a lot of consultants, there's a lot of agencies out in the space. Not everyone does equal work. There's been some that we've brought on real world case studies. We can vouch for all those people. We see them using data dive. We can see their account usage statistics. But we wanted to be able to expand out of our own network, which is largely inner circle people or people that I have personal connections with that I've met over the years, and I know that they have a good track record. We wanted to expand beyond that. And so the analogy that I like to give here, and kind of where I think the future of Amazon and really servicing Amazon accounts is going, is imagine you have a car and it's not performing and you take it to a mechanic, right? So maybe this is your car on the left-hand side. You're fortunate enough to drive a Ferrari, but it is super busted up. It's having all of these issues. If you took this car to a mechanic and you would be a little bit worried if they look at the car and they're not quite sure where to start. They look at it and they're like, yeah, well, it's clearly having issues. There's like smoke coming out of the hood. It's all banged up. You're missing a big piece on the front. Like maybe some of the motor's gone, but they're not really even sure like what next steps to take there. All they're looking at it is like, yep, this doesn't look good. This looks bad. You would probably be pretty worried and think, does this mechanic have any idea what they're doing? Let's say that they start to diagnose some problems, but like your goal is you just want to get this thing off of the side of the road and you need to get it to the mechanic shop. And they have an idea of what, okay, well, like your windows aren't working, the car won't start, won't turn on. And they have like a list of things that might be wrong with the car, but they're not giving you a concrete plan of like, okay, what do we got to do to go 0 to 1 and get this thing running again so we can get it to the mechanic shop. And then once we get there, this is the list and priority of things that absolutely need to be done. These are the things that we can wait a little bit later to, or these are the things that are going to be more intense, time intensive to knock out. And so like not knowing, not being able to prioritize what needs to be fixed first. And then last but certainly not least, I think you would be extremely worried if you take the car into the mechanic shop. Maybe you have to tow it in because they couldn't figure out how to get it off the side of the road. If you take it into the mechanic shop and then the car still is not performing well, like this is a high performance supercar and it's just not running, or it's just taking them an extremely long amount of time to get this done. And so the reason I give this analogy is because what we're really trying to do, and I think about this a lot, is like you talk to a lot of people, a lot of sellers, a lot of managers who are supposed to be managing internal teams, a lot of agencies, and they are in this same spot. They make it seem like Amazon is this mystical, magical uh, situation, and it's just overly complex. You can't really pinpoint anything. There's a lot of, well, I'm not really sure about this, but this might be a reason that something is happening. Like Amazon is just, it might be a virtual machine, but it's no different from a car. Things don't happen randomly. Everything is just a big math equation, and it might have a lot of different levers and a lot of different inputs. But someone should be able to look and concretely tell you this is why your brand is not performing, come up with a strategy on how they're going to fix it, and then be able to successfully implement that strategy and not have it take weeks or months, but be able to go in and start making immediate impacts right away with many changes made over a period of time, making long and lasting impacts. And so our goal with this data dive certification program is to take that car that's sitting on the side of the road or a brand that's not performing and be able to quickly go in and diagnose the problem, strategize the solution, and then be able to execute on that. And not just get the car back on the road, but get this thing really performing as well as it should be, and ideally get you to be the top seller in that niche and not just selling a lot of revenue, but making a lot of profit. And so, what the data dive certification is going to do is it's going to help you, number one, build confidence. So, a lot of people that we get on calls with, a lot of the users that we talk to, they understand one part of the tool really well, or maybe two parts of the tool really well, but they don't understand how everything is supposed to work together in a bigger picture to help you accomplish these different workflows. Very intentional how we built this out, and the flow is much better than I think a lot of users even realize. That comes into the second part, which is speed. Being able to quickly execute on these tasks. When you know exactly what you need to do, when you're following these workflows, you're able to go in and it's not taking you weeks to go and optimize a listing. It's not taking you weeks to optimize these other areas like click-through rate, conversion rate, and your PPC. This is something that you can go in and within minutes start making meaningful change, making a lot of small changes over time. This is really important too for internal teams. I think a lot of company owners might know Amazon very, very well, but like, how confident are you in your team's confidence that they know what they're doing, that they're actually executing on the strategy correctly? And then more importantly is speed. Like I hear this all the time from company owners, even from agency owners, and they're talking about like, I'm saying, how often is your team going in and optimizing a listing? How often are you guys going in and optimizing your CTR, your CVR, your revenue? And it's like they have brand managers that are going in and they're making like a one meaningful change every month. Like there's 170 working hours in a month. Like what are they honestly spending their time doing? And when you look at the time scales, especially 5+ times, once you do a workflow 5+ times for any of these optimization workflows, this is not a huge time commitment. If you have a brand manager that's working in a brand, they should be making changes like every single week they're testing something new inside of the brand. And so if you map that out on what someone could do in a week, you should be able to handle multiple products at the same time, making meaningful trackable impacts month over month over month. And then the last thing on here is really getting close, really getting dialed in on impact. So like how often are you working with an agency, your internal team is working, and you maybe get some sense that things are moving in a right direction. But if you're looking at a number as big as like what's our sales or what's our profit, it's not really clear like exactly all of the different actions that they're taking. How does that directly translate into metrics that you care about? And so how effective is the team on not just going in and making these changes, but like are those changes being measured? are you seeing a consistent? It doesn't have to be a massive improvement week over week, month over month, but it has to be consistent. It has to be trending in an overall strong direction. It has to be making an overall strong impact. And so I just want to say that the data dive certification, it's going to be hard. It's not, and I'm going to go through the format in just a minute, but it's not going to be like, what do the buttons do? What's the listing builder for? That's some of the questions, but a lot of it is going to be practical, conceptual knowledge. So it's really broken down into two parts. About half of the questions are going to be functional. How well do you know the tool? Do you understand what the functions of the different areas of the tool are? But then the really important part is going to be the area around conceptual knowledge. And so that is like, if we give you just a set of data, can you make the correct strategic decision? Can you analyze that data and, number one, figure out what's even important? Can you analyze that data? Can you come up with a strategy? And then can you come up with the right strategic decision to execute on what that strategy is? And so the data dive certification, it's going to be broken down into 6 different parts. I mentioned this earlier. We have a section on validation, we have a section on launch, and then we have one section for each of the 4 parts of optimization: SEO, CTR, CVR, and then revenue. It's like your sales velocity, largely going to be a lever of PPC. So for the next 5 weeks, we're going to be kind of prepping for this exam. I'm going to share something in just a minute where if you're interested on helping us test some of the sample questions and get like an early look at what the test is going to look like, I'll open that up for everyone. But next week, this is the week of September 30th, we're going to be doing optimize SEO. So this is going to have to do with like writing your listing, optimizing your listing. Once you make those changes to your listing, how do you use Rank Radar? How are you setting up highlights? And we're also going to be covering a little bit of catalog issues as well. Like, what do you do when your listing is written correctly, but you're still not getting indexed for any keywords? How do you go and check on the back end to make sure that everything is set up correctly? Then on the week of October 7th, we're going to be doing optimize for click-through rate. This is a fantastic, like one of my favorite things to work on. Probably one of the biggest ways that you can make an impact in your brand overall. I think I saw Daniela Bolzman on this call too. So if you haven't seen her office hours session with Daniela from Mindful Goods, she really talks about this a lot. And just her agency does incredible work when it comes to optimizing CTR. I'm sure we're going to reference some of her examples. Maybe I'll even get some new ones to bring in for a real world case study. I think it's our most viewed office hours replay on YouTube. We're also going to be doing week of October 14th. We're going to do optimize CPR. Week of October 21st, optimize revenue, PPC. This is something that we haven't yet covered in depth in office hours. We have one session with Brandon where we're doing like an advanced PPC kind of breakdown. When we get into this week, this is going to be really deep. We also have a PPC masterclass coming up on Thursday. I put so much work into this deck. I'll share how you can get free access to that. And then on the week of October 28th, we're going to review a little bit of the launch and optimize. But we're really just going to review everything. I'm going to give some breakdown into what the format of the test is. Some of the questions, as you're going to see, we're going to do 3 sample questions right now. Some of the questions are pretty tricky, and it's kind of like if you're taking the SAT math, which I did terrible on it, the SAT, but I still, anyway. Point being, if you don't know how to approach the questions, you're just gonna get it wrong or you're gonna take too long, and it's gonna be really difficult. So it's gonna be like an overall review, and then at this point, this is the end of October, it's gonna be the beginning of November. We're gonna open it up. It's going to be a beta certification. There's going to be multiple versions of this test that come out, but I'm thinking by the end of October, this is going to be pretty comprehensive, and it's going to be hard, but it's going to be a really good indicator of how good is your internal team or your agency on getting all set up here. So what we're looking for over the next month is we're looking for about 100 users that are going to help us test sample questions. And so if you're interested in this, I'm going to close out this screen just for a second so I can drop this URL inside of the chat because we got a fair number of people here on this call. If you're interested in helping out with this and being some guinea pigs for us, making sure that the test isn't too hard, making sure that the questions are phrased in the right way. Um, we're looking for 100 people to do this. It's not going to be the full blown certification. We're going to save that till the end because it's probably going to take like an hour to go through the whole thing. Right now, we have a test bank of maybe about 60 questions. I think that it's probably going to be like 10 to 15 questions for each section. And then some of those are going to be pretty hard to figure out. You're going to really have to understand the concepts. But if you're interested, it's just a really simple form, name, email, and that's it, name and email. And then we're going to reach out to some people as we start putting out different versions of the test and get feedback. We're going to be dropping this link in every week. So if you're interested, uh, yeah, just go and click on that link and then sign up. And so this is kind of getting more into the benefits on why you want to join, aside from the fact that you're going to get really good at data dive and you're going to understand these workflows and these strategies. It's going to help your own performance. But then on top of that, the future of the program, and for anyone who joined that represents an agency, this is probably more relevant to you, except for the first point. Number one is if you have an internal team, like get some sense, is your internal team actually good? And just to give a sense for how hard this is, I tested our own sales reps. Given the first version was really rough, but they like barely passed. There was like another group of VAs that took this, like nobody passed on their first time. So this is going to be a really good benchmark. Like if your team can get a high score on this, you should feel really good that your team understands not only how to use the tool, you're getting a good ROI for your subscription you're paying every month, but they're going to legitimately have a good head on their shoulders. These conceptual questions are not going to all be easy. Number two is being able to share your digital certificate. Depending on the size and reception of the program, maybe we'll actually send out some physical ones. You're going to get a little badge that you can put on your website. You can put it in your marketing. For anyone who is familiar with PickFu, PickFu has a certification program. I put that together years ago when I was there. This is going to like be way better than that. And not that that's a bad certification or anything like that, but a lot of different agencies went through the certification program with PickFu so they can say, hey, we're certified on PickFu. We know how to use this. So you're going to be able to share your digital certificate. What I'm more excited about is access to the agency directory. Like I said earlier, one of the biggest questions that I get asked, that the sales team gets asked, is like, who can I pay to just do this for me? Who can I pay that understands data dive? And so there is a feature inside data dive that's not visible to anyone else that we just have not used. It's an agency directory. And so how we're going to organize when we launch this, when we set it public, the feature is already built. How we're going to organize this is like who has actually completed, which one of these agencies have completed this, what percentage of the people who are managing these processes inside a data dive have completed these. I don't know exactly how it's going to be broken down. It probably just won't be score based. But then there's also going to be another step on top of that. I think anyone who's certified is going to get the PickFu certified, not PickFu, it's going to be the data dive certified badge. But then I think we're going to go a step beyond that. And anyone who has participated in a real world case study as well. So not only can they like go and get a good score on the test, but can they show us that they've gone out into the real world, they've implemented at least one of these workflows. And it doesn't have to be the craziest results, but can they show that they did take an action and there was some positive impact that is trackable, that's quantifiable? And I think this is going to help our users really filter through all of the agencies that are out there, which one really has the merit, which ones are the ones that I want to start reaching out first with. And I think this is going to develop and it's going to grow over time. So I see we're getting some questions here in the chat. We're going to wrap up with, actually, let me take these questions first, and then I'm going to show you 3 questions from the exam just to see, get everyone's feedback and see. Some of these are pretty hard, or at least they're tricky, maybe not difficult in the traditional sense. So let me answer these questions first, because once I start showing the slides, you're going to see some questions, and I'm going to ask everyone to type questions into the chat. So Afan is asking us, how do I get access to Data Dive PPC audit tool in beta? This is currently live for all of our beta users. So this is largely Inner Circle members. This is people who have joined our in-person workshops. And this is people who are not in one of those 2 groups, but are just in our beta program because we use them for beta testing. So this feature is not live for everyone yet. If you're not in one of those groups, I can't, we get a lot of requests to just put someone in the beta group. I can't do that. But as soon as it's live, everyone is going to know. We'll make it very, very public. It's just software. So they're just testing different bugs and making fixes. Was there anything else you wanted to follow up with there?
No, that's pretty much Anthony. So I'm part of Inner Circle. I just probably thinking, how do I get access so I can contribute as well?
If you're in Inner Circle, you should already have access. If you want to just send me a DM here with your email address, as soon as we get off of this
Here?
call, I'll drop it in. Yeah, just send me a direct
Okay,
message here, unless you're
okay,
okay with everyone seeing your email. And I'll drop that email into our dev chat. And if you're in Inner Circle, you should already have beta access.
okay. Thanks, Anthony.
Yep, no problem. Uh, Daniela, yes, your team can join the certification. Danielle is the one I was talking about, Mindful Goods. Check out her episode on the YouTube channel. The thought too is it's how I would like it to be structured, and this is why we're gonna the 100 people that are giving feedback, we're going to be asking them. Ideally, it's not just the founder that's going in and taking this test. What I really want to do is understand what the org structure is of the agency. And we're shooting for like the highest percentage of people that handle these workflows, which is like pretty much every brand manager is going to go get certified. Everyone's going to go and get tested. That's at least the goal. And now that Data Dive, you can add as many users as you want to your account. There's no additional fees. I feel like this is going to be really easy to set up that anyone on your team who has a Data Dive login, you're going to be pushing them to go through the training and to get certified. Uh, so do you have to be an agency? Lori's asking in the chat, do I have to be an agency to do this? I really want to be an expert in Data Dive myself. I learned about it from Isabella and want to get better. I need it for the your company. Yeah, so this is not just for agencies. Agencies, I think, are going to have the highest motivation to do this so that they can show up in the agency directory. But this is for individual users as well. And so, again, if you can go through and get a passing score on this, that's going to be a really good sign that you understand. I think the vast majority of users, if they were to take the certification in its current format, I think most people would fail. I think there's a small percentage, maybe 30, 40% of people that would pass in the current format. Um, okay, I will get this email over. And then I've got a question from Michelle here. This is direct message, so not everyone's going to see this, but it's I don't think there's anything identifiable here. So Michelle's asking, found a product with only 13 search terms, over 450, with 2,100 being the highest search volume, 14K search volume in total. What do you think? So the answer is I'm not really sure. I'd have to see more data. Remember, if, and you can see we have videos on product validation and we show that workflow on the YouTube channel. Check out, to just type in speed round validate. What you really want to do to see if that's a good product idea or not is you want to go through that entire validation process, which includes filling out the product scorecard and filling out the profits tool. Without knowing anything additional about the product, aside from the information that you've given me, I think it sounds like a very, very small niche. And so the questions that I would be asking, and these questions will be answered through the product scorecard, is like, okay, if it's a really small niche with a very small amount of search volume, are there very few sellers? What's the level of competition of those sellers? And I'm going to go through and answer all of those questions in the scorecard to see how risky or not risky is this niche. And remember, if you're going through the validation workflow, the product scorecard is only 50% of the battle. The other 50% is your profits. So what's the budget required to launch this product? And so you're going to want to make sure that you have an acceptable budget. It sounds like if it's a very small niche with very small search volume, maybe the budget required to launch this product is very, very low. So it sounds like there could be some opportunity. It probably won't, it doesn't sound like a product that's going to make millions of dollars a month, but it sounds like it could be a good product to launch, especially as an initial or starter product, but you're going to have to go through the rest of that validation workflow. Okay, cool. Yeah, so there's no confirmation there. I'll send out an email. I'm gonna go look through any of the emails that are put there. I'm gonna like cross-reference it against data dive accounts and try to get like a range of people who are power users inside of the tool, and then some people who are not using the tool as well. But we'll send a follow up email. It'll probably be towards the end of this week. Okay, and then when choosing a product for the tray, there's another variant in the tray. Why don't you want different variations? So basically, the question is being asked if you are trying to add a product to your tray and you already have another variation in your MK in the list of products, it's not going to let you add multiple variations. The reason why is because data dive, at least in the MKL, works everything based on the parent ASIN. So if you add one variation, it just takes the parent and it just populates that. It's not going to let you add separate variations. All of the organic ranks that are showing are not for the children ASINs, it's just for the parent. We got a couple more questions here. From an agency perspective, we're not as concerned about launch, given that many brands are already selling. The focus is understanding where they are today in relation to the competition, what we can do to make them better. I totally agree. That's why for the next 4 weeks, we're going to be focusing just on optimization. The vast majority of people using data dive, their number one question is like, I have a brand that's already selling. I need to improve my performance. My competition is getting too strong. How can I figure out how to beat them? I'm losing market share. How do I solve this problem? And so a majority of the certification, even though it will cover validation and launch, it's not the biggest use case. Most people need to know about optimization. It's going to be really heavy in that, especially in the conceptual part. Okay, I'm going to take two more questions and then we'll get into some of these sample questions from the test. You can see kind of a little bit of what the format is going to look like. So Michelle's asking, what does exact PLR mean when looking at the listing builder? So exact PLR means exact plural match. So there's a few different match types. There's like an exact match, which is literally that keyword. A broad match is like you have those keywords in your listing, but they're in a different order. Exact plural is like you have the keyword, but you have the plural version of that keyword. So from Amazon's ranking algorithm, how it works is like, I'm trying to think, I'm looking around here to see, like I have a cup here. It's like a glass cup. If I say drinking glass or like water glass would be different from water glasses. That's the plural version of that keyword. And so as silly as it sounds, because we're human beings, a water glass is the same thing as water glasses. It's just like a 4-pack of water glasses. But if I type in like 4-pack water glass, that is a different keyword from a search perspective from water glasses in the plural. And so your ranking juice, if it's not the exact match of that keyword, is going to be slightly lower. Okay, cool. And then I already have an agency account. Okay, I'll take that one in the end. All right, let's go through a couple of these sample questions. We're only going to show 3 of them, and then we'll wrap up if there's any other questions. I'm really excited to have some people go through this. And yeah, I'm excited to launch it at the end of October. So these are just a few of the questions. I think our test bank right now, we're up to maybe 60 or so questions. Some of these are easier than others. We'll start with an easy one. This is about product validation, and this is a functional question. So remember, we have a functional question, which is like, how does the tool work? These ones should be really easy if you know the tool or if you've used the tool. The conceptual ones get a little bit more difficult. It's more, you got to kind of figure out what is important from that data set. So I hope everyone can read this, but this is again related to validation, and it's saying which responses for the first 3 questions in traffic distribution would give the highest possible score when completing the product scorecard. So if you were validating a product and you want to know what is going to give you the highest score, what would be the answers below, right? Which one of these would you click that's going to give you the overall highest score? So in a minute, I'm going to say, hey, type in your answer into the chat. So you're going to say Q1 colon and then the letter that corresponds. So this would be A, B, C, D. So I'm going to give everyone 1 minute to look at this. And then we're going to see, don't type it in the chat yet. I want to let everyone look at the question for a minute. If everyone starts dropping it in the chat, you might be influenced on your answer. So I'm going to give everyone a minute to look at this. This one should be pretty easy. And then I'm going to show you what the answer is. Okay, I think that's enough time. So type your question in, type your answer into the chat. I see one people saying C, maybe a little blurry. All right, so we got a C, we got a D, we got a 1, 3, which is the same thing as C. Okay, so I will go to the next. Anyone else? Got like 5 people answer. It's okay. It's okay if you don't know too. So the answer to this one is going to be correct answer is C. So if you've watched the videos on product scorecard, if you watch speed round validate, you're going to know that number of keyword routes, best possible answer is 7. We want many different ways that people are searching for our products, a lot of individual unique routes. That's going to be something that we can take advantage of and capitalize on. But remember, it doesn't just matter if you have 7 or more ways people are searching for the product. It might be great that there's a ton of different ways people are searching, but it also matters what's the distribution of those top 2 keywords. So if more than 90% of the searches for those top 2 routes, that's going to be negative. So our best answer here is going to be less than 50%. We would ideally love if there's 25 different ways people are searching for the product and the distribution of those of the search volume is like really even. Even like your 20th or 25th search term, that would be a huge niche. If it's still getting significant search volume, that means, well, if we understand listing SEO, we can go and capitalize on all of these search terms that are getting a lot of searches every month. So that's distribution should be 50%. And then number of relevant keywords with search volume greater than 450 is going to be more than 100. Obviously, more search terms we get are better. So I think most people got that right. That one was pretty easy. Let's move on to this one. This one is a little more conceptual. This is related to launch. So this also overlays into a little bit of listing optimization and your SEO optimization. But the question here is, okay, based purely on ranking juice, which brand would you expect to have the strongest performance during launch? And we've got some options down there at the bottom. I'm going to let everyone look at this for a minute. I'm going to look at this one myself too, and then we'll open it up for questions. Don't type your answer in the chat yet. Don't influence anyone's decision. Give 1 minute. Okay, this one should also be really easy, like just based on the information you're getting here. So go ahead, type your question into the chat, type your answer into the chat now, and we'll go back and check it on the next page. We got a couple of D's here. All right, we're not getting too many answers here. Maybe people are a little bit nervous. This one should be pretty easy. The only thing that's difficult about this question is there's some options that would be the right answer but are not showing up. And so you kind of have to be able to look at the screen and see which one is the right answer. So we can go through these one by one. Obviously, this would be the best answer if it showed up there. The correct answer is D for the VI Pace, which is an awful brand name. I'm pretty sure it's a Chinese seller. And so there's some other things in here that might potentially confuse you. This one's really easy. And again, there's very limited context on this question, so you can't really do too much with that. It doesn't necessarily mean VI Pace is going to have the best launch. It just means that they're in the best possible position based purely on ranking juice. Now, we're not looking at this and seeing are the keywords relevant to this product. There's a lot of follow-up questions that you could ask. So let's go with this one. This one is actually pretty tricky, and there is a varying degree of answers that you could potentially give for this. But there's only one really right answer here. It's not just about finding an answer that could be correct. It's about finding the best possible answer. So this is an optimization question, and this one is conceptual. So when you're optimizing this listing, and I'll go through and I'll read what each of these keywords are just in case you can't see it. When optimizing this listing, which keyword would be the top priority to ensure it is currently written into the title as an exact match keyword? So over here, you can see the organic ranks. I don't know if I can, let me just make this a little bit bigger. Oh, I just gave it away. I'm sure everyone probably saw that already, but let me just make this a little bigger. And now you can probably see it on the next slide too. Ah. Okay. Well, so the oh no, the answer wasn't given because it was just like a, you know, instructions for typing in your answer. So I think everyone should be able to see this now. I'm going to stop talking and then I'm not going to give anyone extra coaching here. Think about the answer. This one's a little tricky, but don't overthink it. If you watch the other videos, if you've joined office hours, you should be able to get it right. Okay, so go and type your answer into the chat. If I haven't given you enough time, just type that into the chat and say, I need another 30 seconds. But I'll wait till we get some answers here, and then I'll explain this one. Keep them coming, keep them coming. And if you feel free to put out an answer. If you get this one wrong, I think on the initial test that we did, most people got this one wrong. uh, okay, we got a B for waterproof tent. We got Coleman tent. We got waterproof. Got instant tent. Andres. Coleman is a brand name, waterproof. Okay, I'm gonna put someone on the spot here before I show what the correct answer is. And I want Andres, if you can unmute yourself, I want to hear what's your justification? What's the reason that you chose Instant 10?
Hi everyone. Hi Anthony, how are you?
What's going on, man? How are you? Good to see you.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm the head of marketing of Share Studio. I selected Instant 10 because it was the one that had more search volume and relevancy, and it wasn't a branded keyword. So because Coleman 10, I guess Coleman is a branded keyword, so I wouldn't put it in my title of bullet points. So the other one that is more that has more relevancy and that also has more search volume is intent. So I would go for that option.
Okay. All right. Share It Studio getting some points on the board. Excited to have them represented here as well. We're also working on another case study with them that we've been working on for quite a while. And we're going to be sharing that soon. So you got that right. Anyone who answered A got this one right. And oh, did we show it? Yeah. Oh, no, not A. The correct answer is D, which is instant 10. So I want to walk through this. I'm going to go back to the larger screen and just explain this because, like I said, if you got this one wrong, don't be bummed out because a lot of people got this wrong. So basically, what I'm doing here is I'm looking at the rank tracker and I'm saying, what is the area in my organic ranks that has the lowest rank, but with the highest search volume? Primarily, but that keyword also has to be relevant. So Andres brought up a really good point. Coleman tent is something that really should be it, in this case, it would be okay. I guess it might be okay. It might be okay because it seems like this brand actually is Coleman, but the organic rank for this keyword is already pretty good, right? Like they're indexed in position 22. This isn't my biggest priority. I'm not looking right now. And you can see even how the title is written. Again, this is giving you got to be able to look at everything going on here and say, what is important out of what they're showing me here? There's some intention with why they pulled everything in this screenshot. I can already see that Coleman is, you have Coleman tent. This would be a broad match. This isn't going to be my number one priority, switching this from a broad to an exact match, at least not right now. This is my brand name. What I really care about is optimizing this listing. And I want to know for some of these other keywords where I'm 101 plus, how do I get from not showing up at all for that keyword? And how can I get those keywords in line with my other ranks? Like I would love for all of these 101s to be a 22, 36, and then we can go and improve from there. So if I'm looking at this, if I'm looking at the available options here, I have family tent, which is all the way down here with 24,000 search volume. I think this keyword is relevant and it looks like my relevancy is solid. This would be a priority, but there's other keywords that have higher search volume that also have 101 plus. So like waterproof tent is the next option. And you're going to see that this also has a very high relevancy, but the search volume is way lower. So if there was a second best option out of the options here, I'd probably say waterproof tent. Okay, this is relevant, very relevant, but it's 101 plus. Large tent is right here, so that's like a little bit better than waterproof tent. That would probably be like my next biggest priority with 22,000 searches. But instant tent is the best option, and so instant tent has almost 40,000 searches a month, and I'm not indexed at all for this keyword. Now we get a lot of questions about relevancy and like, well, shouldn't I choose the waterproof tent over the instant tent because the relevancy is 82% and the relevancy on instant tent is 55%. So this is where having a little bit of product knowledge is going to be helpful. Remember that relevancy, all it means inside a data dive is what percentage of keyword of sellers out of all of the sellers that are included in my niche are indexed on page one for that keyword. So it's just saying that it doesn't necessarily mean that instant tent is less relevant to this product than waterproof tent. It just means that fewer people are indexed for instant tent than waterproof tent. And so I think instant tent is just a different way that people will describe a pop-up tent, just meaning that you can quickly put this thing together, you can quickly assemble it. I think both of these keywords, and in fact, no keyword should be in your master keyword list if it's not relevant. Like if this product is not in fact waterproof or water resistant, this should have been excluded when we were cleaning the MKL. If instant tent is not a relevant keyword, this should have been excluded when cleaning the MKL. So the relevancy number just means like, okay, how common is it for other people to have this in their listing and to have a high rank? It doesn't necessarily mean this is more relevant than instant tent. Both of these can be equally relevant. It's just very few people are using instant tent. So in this case, the answer would be D, which is instant tent. It has the largest search volume with the lowest rank. That's how I would choose that. So there's our answer there. Kudos to anyone who got that right. We're going to be going through some of these sample questions every single week that's related to the session. So next week, we'll probably show another 3 to 5 questions that are all related to SEO optimization. I'm super stoked about that. Let's give a little bit of a sneak peek to what we're going to see next week. We're going to be covering part 1, SEO optimization. And then on top of that, we're going to do a bonus real world case study. So this is from one of our inner circle coaches, one of our inner circle sales reps, rather. His name is Dustin. And so he had this problem where this is for one of the products he's managing. He had really great organic ranks across the board. Everything is looking really good. And then all of a sudden, he gets this area where it just goes from being high organic ranks to not being indexed at all for that keyword. And he got a little bit of forewarning with this. You can see this is from Scale Insights, and the purple line here is showing impressions. You can see all of a sudden, like around September 8th, and then correlating with around September 11th, like a massive drop in impressions and a massive drop in sales. And so what happened here is some Amazon catalog issues. So Amazon switching this product to be in the absolutely incorrect product type. There was some mismatch in GL codes and overall loss of rank. Now, luckily, Dustin was super on top of this. And so he was able to identify this very quick, root cause the issue. And he's going to go through the process of working with support to fix these catalog issues. This is something we haven't really discussed before. What do you do when your listing is definitely written correctly, but then something happens on the back end that just destroys your rank? And how quickly can you recover from this? There's some questions inside of the test that follow these similar formats. You're going to see examples where people did not fix this in 1 or 2 days. They let this go for a month, and then it dramatically affects their sales velocity, and it takes a much longer time to recover. So we're going to be covering that next week, as long as the part 1 SEO. And then again, I hope that everyone here is going to join for the next 5 weeks while we go through all of these workflows, and then we officially launch right at the end of October. And then we'll talk about, we'll get into the next step. So this is what we're doing. We've talked about this a bunch, our lineup for the next few weeks. Something that we're doing on Thursday of this week, 6 p.m. Eastern. Normally, these masterclasses that we have are for inner circle students only, or if you want to buy it separate, you can spend usually $200 to join. But as a celebration for hitting 6,000. We actually are a bit over 6,000 paid users at Data Dive. We're giving all Data Dive subscribers, we're giving them free access to this advanced PPC masterclass that we're doing on Thursday. If you can't join live, you should still register. We'll send out a recording after. I have put so much time over this last week into helping develop this deck. It is going to be the most simplified version of PPC that you've ever seen, even though it's a complex topic. We're going to make it really clear, really easy to understand. There's going to be practical examples. You do not want to miss this. If PPC is something you struggle with, you are going to become infinitely better if you join this. And it's totally free. Again, that's a special thing we're doing just for this one, for hitting 6,000 paid users. We have a few new features that are up. We have videos that cover these features on the YouTube channel. We have an updated video on connecting your PPC account to Rank Radar. If you're not doing this, you are missing out. That is super valuable. We covered that in last week's session with Bernard. He shared a PPC launch strategy. He showed some of his PPC dashboards and insights. You don't want to miss that. We also launched a new feature. This has been out for more than a month for 2 months now for all users. Niche compare. This allows you to look at your MKL and compare 2 different points of time, as well as how to set up auto dives so you can have your niche research automatically refresh. And that's pretty much everything I have here. I'm going to open it up for Q&A. If you're not using Data Dive yet, you can you get a free trial if you book a call with it.